Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is Salman here, and today the topic of our training is confined spaces. Confined spaces are also called as deadly spaces because there are too many hazards which are there in confined space. Let me tell you about the definition of confined space as per OSHA 1910.146. Confined space means a space that is large enough and so configured that an employee can bodily enter and perform his assigned work in the confined space. Number two, it has a limited or restricted means of entry and exit. For example, it would be a tank, it would be a vessel, a silo, a vault, a pit, etc. And number three, the area which is not designed for permanent employee occupancy. It means a person can go inside the confined space, he will perform his assigned job and he will come outside from that area. Now, there are so many people who go and perform work inside a confined space, but unfortunately they lost their life just because of complacency. They don't know the hazards of the confined space. They even don't recognize that the area where they are going to perform the work is a confined space. So they are not prepared, they don't aware about the hazards, and they don't have any precautions. So ultimately they lost their life. So if you are going to work in a confined space, you must need to know all these three definitions of confined space. You need to know the hazards of confined space, and you need to take precautionary measures so you will work safely in that confined space. There are so many hazards, and let me tell you one by one. The first hazard which is about the confined space is the low oxygen environment. In confined space, there would be oxygen level low. We call this one as oxygen deficient, and whenever oxygen level is below 19.5%, we call this one as oxygen deficiency, and we are not allowed to enter in a confined space without self-contained breathing apparatus or supplied air breathing apparatus if a concentration is below 19.5. Another hazard would be oxygen enrichment atmosphere, which is more than 23.5%. One more hazard which is there in a confined space is flammable gases, and the concentration would be in a lower explosive limit or upper, in between lower explosive or upper explosive limit. So you need to be very sure about that flammable gases. And another thing is about toxic gases: hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide. These are the toxic gases which may be found in confined space. There would be a liquid or some other gases would be there in a confined space, and we need to be very clear about that, and we need to isolate all those sources. There are some other hazards which are also associated with confined space. For example, the area of the confined space may be slippery. There would be many obstacles. There would be high noise. There would be a high temperature, because if the outside temperature is 45 or 50 degree, so it is not possible for you to continue work for a longer period of time. There would be drowning in deep pockets. There would be radioactive levels. There would be hit by falling objects. You are working at the bottom and someone working at the top, and some item is fell down and you may get hurt or injured. So we need to understand these hazards, and we need to take proper precautions. So what would be the precautions, and what are the actions we need to take? The first thing first is we need to start our work with a permit system. So we need to take a confined space permit, and remember, confined space permit is only for the entry in a confined space. It will not allow you to work any other job in the confined space. Then we need to have special PPEs which are mentioned in the permit system, and we need to prepare a risk assessment, a job safety analysis, or your method statement that how you will perform work in a confined space. You also need to purge, flush or remove toxic vapor from a confined space. You need to isolate the confined space. You need to insert some blind. You need to close the valve. Some more items which you need to be very careful about that is about lockout and takeout system. If some electricity is involved, so you need to properly adopt lockout and takeout procedure. Then you need to test the atmosphere. If you need to test the atmosphere, then you must have a multi-gas detector. You need a authorized gas tester who can do the testing of the confined space. Then there should be a proper ventilation. You need to do a proper ventilation in that area. So proper flow of air would be there in the area. Proper electrical lightnings or electrical tools would be there. If the area is very sensitive, some hydrocarbons would be there. So sometimes we need intrinsically safe equipment or EX equipment to use in that area. Then we need to have a good communication system. We need to have some good communication tools. For example, a whistle, a radio set, or sometimes people use verbal communication to interact with each other, those who are working in a confined space. Then you need some special ingress or egress equipment like a tripod or with a winch or some other equipment. You need some signs and barriers. When the worker, they perform their job and they are going to a tea break or a lunch break, then they need to put those signs and barriers in that area. So unauthorized people understand that it's a restricted area and they will not enter in that area. Then you need to have a lookout man or standby person who will stand by outside the confined space, and his job is to make the entry of each and every individual who is working inside the area, and whenever they will come outside, he will mark on the worksheet. And this standby person, he will not do any rescue job. In case of any emergency, he will inform the concerned authority and the emergency number he should know. Then you must need to have a respiratory equipment. For example, self-contained breathing apparatus and supplied air breathing apparatus. Never use emergency life-saving apparatus like ELSA, because ELSA is only for escape purpose, not for work in a confined space. And last not the least, emergency rescue. A dedicated team should be there according to condition of the confined space, and they should be trained, they should know all the hazards which are there in a confined space. So once you will go through all these procedures, you know your confined space, you know how or what job you need to perform in that area, do a proper risk assessment, JSA, and take all these precautions, then you will be safe working in a confined space. Always remember, every injury is preventable. So be safe, work safely and wisely, and keep your surrounding also safe. Thank you very much. Bye.